Okay, so today I'm going to try to get these vertical pieces mounted and maybe even the piece along the bottom, but I have to get the window seats mounted solid. They're just sitting in there right now. And this is what the trim will actually look like. It will overlap cork a little bit. The window seat will protrude past the trim a little bit more than the chamfer. This vertical piece is going to have to be cut so that it fits around there, and then the bottom piece is just going to be smooth to the window seat. So I need to get these cut to length and then notch out each one, and I have 4 of those on both window seats. I need to get the window seats mounted. Then once these pieces are in, I can cut the pieces to length here. I've already got them cut and machined and close to fitting, but I may have to fine tune them a little bit so that they actually meet up with this trim perfectly. That is the task for today, and hopefully this will go quite easy. Last week I cut these to size and mounted those solid, so those are finished and will not be removed again. And so now I can finish the cork all the way around it. And then once I have these vertical pieces in, I can put cork on these the little window pieces here. Once I got these mounted, I cut the cork back as far as it needed to go on both windows. And so now when the trim is mounted, it will overlap the cork just a teeny bit. Gives me a little bit of room there to wiggle it. And I've also got a bit of space so that I can get a little bit of plaster behind it. It's got like a little gap there. So once I put the plaster on and all that stuff, I can squeeze it in behind there, and that'll give me a nice seal, because this will be mounted before I put my plaster on. So I needed just a little room to get the mesh behind it and a little bit of plaster behind it. So I'm gonna anchor these. I'm gonna put 2 anchors in, one at the bottom and one at the top, and use construction adhesive on those. Then once I've got that done, I'll caulk them and paint them. All right, so I've got the vertical pieces put in. I've notched around the window seat, and now I need to cut the bottom piece to length, machine the overlap, make sure that that's correct, and then permanently install all 3 of these pieces on both windows. So everything is fitting nicely. The boards are plumb with the beam at the top, and so now I'm just cutting length for the bottoms, and then we'll be ready to install. Okay, got those pieces cut to length. I've got the recesses cut on the back side so that I can get a little plaster behind it. I still have some cork I need to put underneath at the bottom to bring it up to level. That's going to require a few inches, 2 or 3 inches at least, as I've got about a 20 millimeter, 2 centimeter back cut here, so I can just slide it up in there, and that'll hide any edges. And so now I'm going to put 2 anchors in each piece and get those prepped and ready to bolt in. And then I think I'm going to go ahead and put a coat of paint on these, maybe a couple of coats of paint, have them pretty much finished. And then I just have to, once I get my anchors in, I'll fill those holes in and do a final paint over everything. I am ready to anchor everything in. Okay, the trim is mounted. Now I need to cut all the small pieces that will fit in everywhere that I'm missing cork. So I have above both windows, below both windows, and this one has a large area below the window. And then there's a little strip underneath there. And then I'll have to also cut them for the sides here. So I'm gonna start doing that. I'm gonna have to wait for this to dry, so I had to add a little bit of material on every window base here to get it to be perfectly smooth. So I did that earlier today, and I'm waiting for that to dry. It'll probably be tomorrow or the next day before that's dry enough to put cork in there. I shouldn't have to add any more material to any of those areas. So I'm gonna go ahead and start cutting all the pieces. All right, well, this morning I was able to get the cork put around this window. I did a few pieces on this window, but I had to add some material up here. It was just a little too low. And so I felt like that if I put my cork on there, it would be noticeable that it was low. So I added probably 10 millimeters or less of material across the top. I have to wait for this to dry. So once that's dry, I will install these bottom pieces, get all the pieces finished around here. I also got these pieces painted. These are the trim pieces that will go in the window recess, and the cork will sit down in the groove here. So this is what you will see, and this is where the cork will sit. So these still have to be cut to size. I needed my trim installed before I put these in. Now that these are painted, I'll probably do one more coat on them before I install them. And what I'm gonna do is screw on the top ones. This is the small right top for the small window. This is the front window, so front right bottom. On the top pieces, I'm just gonna screw these in. I'll screw them into that top trim piece. And then the bottoms will get glued in. They'll be glued to the window seat, and they will also be glued to the wall. So they'll be glued here and on the bottom. Have to put one more coat on those, and then they'll be ready to cut to the exact length and install them. So one issue that we ran into, we bought these before we decided to do the cork on the wall. So by adding the cork, it added 20 millimeters and then some because of the material that we're using to glue it to the wall, and then actually adding the material on top of that, we ended up with a 20 millimeter gap here, or maybe even larger, that will have to be filled in. Now, I don't know what I'm gonna do with that yet. I can do it with wood. I can do it with a piece of angle metal, like 90-degree piece of aluminum that will just get painted white. I could do it with wood and paint that white, but I don't know what I'm going to do just yet. So I have to do that on both windows and fill that in. So that gap there is my problem right now. Hopefully that will remedy itself in my mind soon, and I'll figure out exactly how I'm going to fix that. Okay, so I have been putting the second coat of the plaster, the middle coat of plaster on all the walls. I have 3 walls complete, and this wall is the one that I have to do today. And as you can see, I've scraped the wall. I used one of these larger tools to scrape with the flat edge there. I go up and down, side to side, diagonally, just trying to get the wall smooth as I can. And you can see that where it scratches is the high spots. So I've scratched all that off, and now I am going to mix up another coat of the middle puts here. I mix it up just a little bit more flowy, a little bit more liquid, so that it goes on really nice and smooth. I only use the big trowel, so that way it gets as smooth and flat as possible. I'm not looking for perfection, but all of these walls were just a little bit too wobbly. They were a little bit too not flat, and I ran out of the ground puts, the ground layer, so I had to just make do. And this wall, the worst sections were around this area and where I did all of my wiring, and I had big chunks of wall missing. So those were the worst areas. So we did this one yesterday, and it looks pretty good. And right as I was finishing, I kind of got a little too excited and dug into it. So I'm gonna have to put a little something in there today when I put this last coat of material on. And I can go around and do some of the other like little touch-ups. I have a low spot here, I have a low spot there. You can see how it's like, this is probably a millimeter. Now the final layer would probably cover that, but I can go ahead and put a little something in there and smooth it out. I also need to finish the cork areas here. I intentionally did not put these pieces in, so now I can take those out, I can put the plaster on, and then I can put these in once it's complete and just push it right up against the final plaster. I'll do that once that's all complete. So I have these 4 areas on the windows, and this big wall here. So this will probably take 2 full bags to complete. So I'll mix up 1 bag and start the process, and then mix up the other bag as I'm in the process. Before I finish the first bag, I'll go ahead and start mixing the second bag, and then it'll be ready to go once I'm done with the first bag.
Quick look from the backseat, city going by as we're passing streets. Dim lights in her basement dive, leather jacket in my whiskey knee. And I can't find a way to compromise unless I'm looking in your eyes. And I know we're leaving all the rules behind. Welcome to the wild. It's every man for himself. Welcome to the wild. I'm crazy. You know I want you, no one else. And I won't waste another hour. Baby, you don't know your power. I'll take you to the wild, lady. Sing welcome to the wild. Midnight on Mulholland Drive, I take the wheel and you close your eyes. You know I love the chase and we don't hesitate. A little danger makes you feel right. And I know everybody wants you, but they can't do what I do. Yeah, I feel like there's nothing left to lose if I don't got you. Welcome to the wild. It's every man for himself. Welcome to the wild. I'm crazy. You know I want you, no one else. And I won't waste another hour. Baby, you don't know your power. I'll take you to the wild, lady. Sing welcome to the wild. Big city, lost in a crowd. Come with me where we're not allowed. 'Cause you're looking like trouble, but you got no place to go. But let me tell ya, this city, it's a jungle. Welcome to the wild. It's every man for himself. Welcome to the wild. I'm crazy. You know I want you, no one else. And I won't waste another hour. Baby, you don't know your power. I'll take you to the wild, lady. Sing welcome to the wild.
Okay, so I saved the hardest part for last. This is the most difficult areas to work because the areas are so small that none of my trowels actually fit in there for the wide portion, so I have to use the smaller areas of the trowel. Now what I'm doing here is I get a nice bed of material on the surface, and then I switch over to the toothed trowel edge, and cut the grooves into the bed material. And then I'll take the mesh and lay it into that material and then bed it in as good as I can, pushing it in with the trowel. And then I go back and smooth everything out and kind of clean up and detail the edges the best I can. And now I will come back with a rag later on and finish up the very edges, but this is just getting it as close as I can to finished. This material will wipe off pretty easy with a rag once it's dry. It doesn't take a lot of work to get it off, so I'm not so worried about the cleanup, but I do try to be as neat and clean as I can. Now here I'm having to work around the internet cable, which is a little bit of a pain, but we're going to have to reroute that cable. It comes in from the basement and was embedded into the wall, so I had to remove it out of the wall. And so I'm just having to work around that, making it a little bit more difficult, but not too much more. So this is the final portions of the middle coat, and once this is complete, then we will be moving on to the final coat, which will make the walls white. This is a gray material. The final coat is white and has like a sand textured finish to it. So that will be the final thing that we do, and that's what makes the room look really nice. So everything's looking good. I'm real happy with it. Do a little cleanup work here just as I'm done, just to make sure I'm not letting anything dry on the window seats. And everything looks really good. I'm happy with it, and we will be painting the windows, so that'll help finish it out, and it's going to look good. All right, well, I have all of the middle coat done. Got the mesh installed in the window areas here now, and now I just need to let it dry, and we'll start putting on the final coat. But everything looks pretty good now. I think that second coat really smoothed everything out. It's going to make the final coat go on much easier. Okay, so the walls are all dry and ready for the final coat of plaster. I've got a bucket mixed up. I have a bucket of water ready to mix up another batch. So you have to put 2 layers on. You put the first layer on. It has to dry for like 10 or 15 minutes. It gets like kind of dull. And then you put your second coat on right on top of it. So it's kind of like a wet on wet application. Now we're just gonna do this back wall right now. And then maybe tomorrow we'll do this wall. Just keep working our way around. So today we're gonna get this wall done and probably lip it over into the other 2 walls so that when we get to those corners, we can do a quick finish on the corner. It will be nice and clean. So now I've already used the water bottle to mist a light coat of water just to give it some moisture, and that keeps it from wicking the moisture out of the material so quickly. So we're just gonna start putting it on and smoothing it out. All right, guys, so we finally have the living room completely finished. The walls are done, and now we are ready to start cleaning up and putting some flooring in. I still have just a teeny bit of work to do on the edges of the windows. I think I have enough material here. It's just a little bit in the bottom. I think that's gonna be plenty to get that done. The walls will be finished. I need to paint the trim again, get a nice good coat on that, paint the windows. But before we do the flooring, I would like to get a nice clean coat of paint on the trim. That way, if we don't need to repaint, then we don't have to worry about the flooring. But right now, I want to get the flooring clean and get all of these things out of here so that we can start putting the hardwood floor down. That will make it look a lot better. We can go ahead and install all of the outlets, light switches. Then once the flooring in, we can have the base trim put in. We still need to do the ceiling, and that will be painted white. So we're getting real close. So this is going to be a nice upgrade just by getting the floor in. It will make the room look so much cleaner and so much nicer. The task at the moment is to get this floor clean. It is awful. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I just have to make sure there's no clumps, no debris that's going to interfere with the way the flooring lays on this linoleum. So I'm going to scrape it, and I'm using my trowels. I've got a small trowel here I'm using against the wall. I've got a big trowel for the bigger areas. I'm gonna scrape over everything, make sure there's no big clumps. Then I'll go around and sweep everything, vacuum the edges, and then once all that's done, we'll go over it with a mop, probably 2 or 3 times, just to make sure that we've got everything nice and clean, and then we can start putting some flooring down. So this is an exciting time. Okay, I've got the floor fully scraped. I have swept and blown it with my little air blower there. Now I'm gonna run over it with the vacuum, and then we'll mop it. All right, the day has come. We are now clean and prepped for the floor. So we're gonna start bringing the hardwood floors in and let them be in here until tomorrow. And I may go ahead and work on the entryway here if I need to cut one and make it fit. But we are ready to put some flooring down. So that is gonna get started now.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Like, subscribe. Any comments, questions down below. In the next video, we're going to be putting some flooring in and getting this room starting to look like a finished room. It's getting really nice. I'm really excited to see what's happening, and hope you guys will keep tuning in to see how it comes out. See you in the next one.